Let's start talking. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another L5R stream. I just can't seem to leave this game. It's so good. So it's time to play another tournament, it seems. It's been a while since I played. I can't even remember when the last tournament was. Oh, the Kote, of course. And a lot of stuff has happened since then. We got a new core set, we got a rotation. Finally, thank you, Emerald Legacy, for the rotation. Good riddance. Set cycle 1 and yeah, cycle 1. Good riddance. But this means that we have to build some decks, since I can't play the same deck all the time. And I have a couple of options. I have been brewing for a while, since the core set came out. And there are a number of options here. All decks from here and upwards are all core set decks that I've tried. I tried to play all the clans to see what they can do. And yeah, let's just get through them. The goal of this stream is to talk through all the decks, say something about them, and for myself try to decide on one, sort of. Yeah, so first up we start from the bottom. Let's see. Let's see where we start. Is it even further down? Merge and barge. Okay, that's GPO. Train, no. So I'm gonna be playing Unicorn because Hatamoto. Because Unicorn is the coolest. Alright, so here's the first one. It's a Keeper Water Shigenya build. That's trying to make use of all the good Shigenyas we have right now. We have Octai, we have Shahai, Shahai Season, Taramatsu, and Atagi is also really strong, alongside the Shigenya card, the Rushing Wave. So we got some Shigenya support in the core set, which is really cool. We also got the Neo Against the Waves, which is Rejuvenating Vapors. And we do have Water Affinity in this deck with all our Shigenias. Yeah, all our Shigenias being water. So we can ready any character with this, which is pretty cool. It's sort of a mid-range control list, which I've grown to like out of Unicorn, where you try to just get value and throughout the game just build your board and win in that way instead of, going the usual HMT bonk route. And it's playing a lot of new cards. Golden Eagle, which is a pretty neat 1/1 for 1 with courtesy. I never played it as a protection from covert because there aren't that many people playing covert from what I've seen, apart from Unicorn themselves though, which has surprisingly amount of covert right now. Child has gotten changed, easier to understand and works with some of our other cards better, like for example the Stronghold, Eastwind. Playing all the water cards present battle. Since we're playing Force of the River, we're gonna have a lot of characters, hopefully. So present battle is probably gonna be available. A cheeky diversionary maneuver, of course, because that's also good with this type of deck. With Composite Yumi, it's a huge power pump. Darbuka is also really nice. I've come to really like Darbuka. It's surprisingly good in a lot of matchups. Against Unicorn, if you're first player, you can dump their military ring for encampment. Against Dragon, you can, if you're playing against the what's it called, Jade Colored Rocks. Is it called Jade Colored Rocks? Is that the one? Their landing site. No, the Dragon landing site where you can't claim fate on rings. Then it's really nice because then you can attack with the ring and not gain a fate, and then second attack, if you happen to win, you can return the ring and then claim it again for the fate, which is pretty cool. Or you can just double down on a void ring, for example, double voiding something, or getting a ring that your opponent used. Very good against Phoenix as well, since they have a lot of stuff that care about rings. The book is pretty cool. Invocation, of course, for power. Spyglass is auto included in East Wind. So yeah, this deck is pretty cool. So it's one of the options. I guess I have to say something negative about it as well. It's quite heavy to play. It's influenced, or it's yeah, I guess influenced by my Kotai deck, which was quite heavy to play. Lots of fiddly parts. A bit easier this one. Not as many wonky plays you need to do, but you can see the similarities with There Are No Secrets, for example, being a card, but There Are No Secrets, of course, being nerfed, not as strong anymore. Right, so that's one of the decks. This one is a bit spicy, sort of a Battle Maiden-ish, Swarm-ish deck. Oh, my girlfriend is calling, so BRB. Okay. Hey man. Hello. Right, back to nerd stuff. So yeah, Swarm deck. I love playing Swarm, and I had to build one. And this is using some of my favorite cards, like Unfulfilled Duty, which I was so hyped when this was released. I thought it would save Unicorn when we were in quite a rough spot. Didn't turn out to save Unicorn, but it's still a fun card for Swarm, since you can attack, cab reserves, you get a bunch of stuff, and Unfulfilled Duty to get a second attack in. And it's playing a lot of the Swarm payoffs, Hayate, Cinema Wayfinders, and it's sort of an honor switch deck. There are a lot of honor cards in here. But who cares about honor? I'm trying to find anything. Shotome, Fiddlerong Thunder, Shono, and of course just general glory with the Tagu Stable Master, which is a really strong card. So that's another one of the decks. Weakness. It's a bit slow, like all Shirishini decks. It's weak in the early game. It's also very assassination vulnerable, apart from the 3 Voices of Honor, which can hopefully protect the deck. But those are also used to try to protect the cavalry reserves. It runs all the Swarm stuff, like Courteous Greeting. It runs Midnight Revels. And a cheeky honors reward for that nice +3 glory, which is really good with both just honor and attack with Stable Master and Unwavering Devotion for a cheeky protection there. So that's another fun deck I'd like to try in the tournament, but I'm not sure. This one is a bit spicy. Probably not gonna play this one. It's a honor running deck, out of Unicorn. And the goal is to play Developing Masterpiece on a character, and then just boom their glory as much as possible, since you gain honor equal to the glory of the attached character. So you have stuff like Unwavering Devotion, you have the Stable Master, of course, an Imperial Librarian, and a bunch of fun stuff. And of course, the courtiers with the highest glory, like Daisetsu. Um, it's There are some funny tricks here you can do. You can play developing masterpiece on one character, like a weak courtier in the beginning, to keep Hante Dasetsu in the combat in play, because he's gonna be strong with being honored and being high glory and good stuff. And then you can play give gifts, and at the end of the conflict phase, move the developing masterpiece to Daisetsu and get the honor and use the character. Since the character doesn't have to be doesn't have to stay on the character all the time, the developed masterpiece. So honor honoring, if you want to be cheeky, it's a bit wacky. It doesn't do super well, especially against dishonor. It can be a real slog, but I have won games with it, so it's definitely not the worst build I've made, but probably not the most legit build either. Next up is a crab classic Keeper of Fire HMT. I am leaning towards HMT. I'm coming back to it. Last year I wasn't too high on HMT. It felt a bit meh. But now I've gotten a couple of builds who are a bit more interesting to play, I think. This one is quite scary. This is a big HMT deck, which revolves around playing the big 5-cost characters that we have, like Minamikaze Regulars and Higashika's Company, alongside cards like Second Wind, which is very powerful with these characters, since you can dump them with cards like Starlit Skies. You have Shinu Gunso, also visit the Hubi Square, that dump these big characters into the discard pile, and then play Second Wind, get them back for 2 fate, and then get a fate on the card draw back, or stopping a character from bowing for just 2 fate, which is pretty good trade. It also revolves a lot around the discard pile with Armor to Fallen as well, and of course 3 of cavalry reserves. So you play a shitty character like a Shinu Scout or a Gunso and just attack a little bit, see what the opponent does, and then if they defend, bam, hit them with the Second Wind of cavalry reserves. Also 3 foreign customs in here, because Octai gets huge in this deck. He has the interrupt that he gets plus X military, where X is the military skill of a sacrificed character, or a character that leaves play. And in order to keep the characters in the discard pile with Second Wind, you sacrifice the big characters to HMT. Since that will keep them in the discard pile and not at the bottom of your deck, Octai reacts, and suddenly you have another 15 military just waiting to go, and foreign customs to keep that rolling, which is very scary indeed. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there, like that. For Death and Glory is also a really nice combo there. The new bonsai, that you can sacrifice the character instead of putting it at the bottom of your deck for the big characters. Defend Your Honor is also really strong in this deck with these huge 6 military characters. There are very few characters in the game right now that can contest a huge army in a duel, which is weird, but sort of makes sense. You figure it out, it's a card game. So that one is pretty fun, it's been quite successful. We have another version here, which is a bit more forecaster focused with Moto Beastmaster and some more protection with Objection and Whispers of the Lord of Death to gain the favor, and an Objection to protect the big events. But otherwise it's the same package. Then we have a couple of Battle Maiden decks. A crab one, which plays Guardians of Rokan for some defensive stuff, Smuggling Deal for some cheeky Sumir play, Shono play, also Takeku or Stable Master is also really good here. And you have the Honoring here to sort of keep you afloat even while using Threaded in Darkness and Smuggling Deal. I don't think I've ever played this deck though, so I don't know how well it does. It looks very wonky indeed. This could be fun. That's a sort of out of the box, let's see what happens sort of deck. Next up we have a little bit more serious Shirishino Secret Rare Battle Maidens. It's running a really nice Sage of Honeyed Words, which probably should be in the Honor running deck as well, because it gets plus X plus X equal to another character's glory. With Stable Master and Unwavering Devotion, you're gonna have a huge amounts of glory in here, especially with Takeko. And this deck has done pretty well. It's pretty sweet actually. So this might be one of the big choices, I think. Battle Maidens, they're pretty cool. Running one of my favorite cards from the new sets, which is Retribution. Sort of a comeback card or a uptrade tempo card, where you sort of switch the tempo on your opponent, which is really cool. So that could be scary for the opponent. Also really nice to play Steal the Steps and Taiko Stable Master to give it cavalry, to get it to honor with, to get it to ready with Shitomi Encampment. Probably needs a couple of updates here. It's been a while since I built this deck. As you can see, it was in the beginning of December. Was this before the core set? Yeah, this was actually before the core set. Okay, so this needs a couple of more updates, I think. Oh no, Passionate Poet is core set, yeah. Alright, and then there are a couple of ugly decks here. Let's stop by them. And here we have our first yucky deck. This is really disgusting. This is a tower deck. And it revolves around playing attachments on Taramatsu. There's a lot of Meishido attachments here, which gets free. Like Invocation of Ash, Tarbuka, stuff like that. And, you know, fight on, keeping it readied. Why is the version of maneuver in here? I don't know. Okay. But I guess it is. Oh yeah, for Scout Steed and Diversionary, yeah. That's a combo. And it plays Tetsubo of Blood because of Shy. So you sort of get the fate back. And there's also a Traveling Tinkerer in here, which is really cool with Tetsubo, because you can suddenly get +4 political instead. So there's some switcheroo going on there. This deck is undefeated as so far, and it's really disgusting. As you can imagine, you can do some cheeky things with Sturdy Tetsubo and give out gifts, moving it around, or just give a gift in general. It's pretty good in this deck, moving around the spyglasses, around the Tetsubos, attack military with Tetsubo, and then move it to another character and using it with Tinkerer to use the political as well. So there are a lot of fun tricks in this deck for sure. Lord's Ascendancy hasn't been the best card for this, so probably will swap that out if I decide to go with this. But it's a very yucky deck for me. I'm not the hugest fan of Power because it's a bit simple. It's a bit, you know, yeah. If you played L5R for long enough, you've learned to sort of despise Tower or embrace it if you enjoy that sort of thing. But it's definitely a polarizing sort of archetype, and might not be here for it. Alright, let's get to the big contenders, I think. No, let's start with another ugly deck. So here's Scouted Terrain. For those that don't know, Scouted Terrain is a card that lets you attack your opponent's stronghold even when they don't have all their provinces broken. You can attack as long as you have revealed every non-stronghold province. Oh wait, you don't even have to reveal the... I never read this about this card, that's interesting. It only says 4 face-up provinces. It doesn't have to be the non-stronghold provinces. That means I could have attacked one turn earlier in that one game. Okay, but yeah, so this is a combo deck. Essentially, you just try to scout out your opponent and try not to die in the meantime, and build a board, and then when you find the right moment, You just hit the switch, buy all the characters, play Scout the Train, play Ghost the first to stop any cancels, and then play Scout the Train, and then see if you win, and if you don't win, you probably lose. It's not very interesting. It's pretty strong. I think it's gotten stronger. There's a lot of stuff that you can. There's a lot of additions here to this deck from earlier iterations. Stuff like Shrine of Vengeance is another reveal, accelerating the deck, and can also stop any nasty shenanigans that can hurt your combo. Like, for example, bumbling into an appalling authority. Oops, I lost my combo. I lost. Shrine of Vengeance can help against that. Also, Shinra Scout in the same way. Let scouting be more comfortable. Stolid Skies to dig through your conflict deck, or when you have the combo, you can try to dig out some of your opponent's answers. And also a cheeky all distances are one is in here, since you can do a combo with Scout Steed, where you attack with Scout Steed on a face-down province, and then your opponent maybe doesn't defend because you're not going to break. They don't really care about it. It's like a watering or whatever, or an airing. Then you play Scout the Train and all distances one into the stronghold, and you win. Whoops. So it's another neat trick in there. Triple Sunwheel Rise again to get all the conflicts that you can want to again accelerate that combo win. And the Dynasty side is just a bunch of characters, low cost characters. To make the early game very cheap, you play maybe a Battle Maiden recruit to attack the province. Opponent has to defend. If you play Soul Weaver as well, you have one strength in each conflict, so your opponent has to defend, but you're spending basically nothing on exploring. And then in the late game, which is usually around turn 3 when this combo goes off, you play Attacker Infantry, and then your Cavalry serves out Shono, and you have suddenly 70 skill attacking your opponent's stronghold. Yeah, that's the deck. Not, as I said, not the most interesting. After a while, it plays pretty much the same, doesn't interact with the opponent in a very interactive game. So it definitely is an odd archetype in this game. But if I would be the bad guy, I would probably play this since it seems very strong for now. Alright, let's go on to my top 2 candidates, I think. It's those a bit more fun to talk about. First one is going to be old school HMT. And this is Secret Water, which we used to have back in the day when we were roll locked. It runs a couple of well, it runs pretty much the swarm setup, which is Courteous Greeting. It runs Golden Plains, Cons Order, Midnight Revels, Visit the Hubi Square. Courteous Greeting is probably the weakest province in this lineup, I think. I haven't gotten that much use out of it since, you know, your HMT, you're usually attacking. But sometimes it can be a nice stopper, especially if it sits on the Chitomen encampment and your opponent tries to break it. You defend and you bow them, and you have another character in conflict, winning the conflict, readying, and then going for the break on your opponent. So I've been swapping between this and Appalling Authority. Of course, Upholding is really strong in HMT since you want to protect your important events and figure out the perfect way to get that fast win, which Upholding, of course, with perfect information is perfect for. Golden Plains, one of our strongest provinces since it really upsets the tempo. This goes on Stronghold. It's Secret Water though, so not all games you're gonna get the Fate, especially against Dishonor. But against Dishonor, they're just gonna farm one province anyways, so I think that makes up for it, and it can be really nice to get that one extra Fate if your opponent manages to get to your Stronghold. Consort 2, of course, if your opponent hits this, they might lose, suddenly, because now you have 3 military conflicts instead of just 2. I've had a couple of games where opponents mistakenly have attacked this instead of a revealed province, and they just lost because they were attacking politically, thinking they would win, and then suddenly I break another 2 provinces because of it. So Consider is staying, and it's still strong. Minas Rebels, we're playing quite low curve, so we're trying to snipe those big characters that are an issue for this deck, that have always been an issue for HMT. And the Hubi Square is a really great province. We used to run like Border Fortress here to combo with Consordu, but Hubi Square is, it just feeds HMT so good. It feeds you another character which you can use to declare another conflict. It can defend itself with the character that you put in. It feeds cavalry reserves. Yeah, it's just perfect. And 5 strings. So your opponent needs to put something into breaking it, which means less for the defense, which is pretty sweet. The Dynasty deck, I think we'll talk about we'll talk about that first, yeah. So it's, as I said, quite low to the curve. The 2 costers end here, as it is HMT, and it is a bit wider HMT, or a bit more classic HMT in comparison to the big HMT decks we saw here. There are no 5 costers except for Sumira in this deck. So we run Battle Maiden Recruit. Battle Maiden is awesome. I love this card. It feels so good every time I play it, pretty much. It really ties into the whole counter-proactive. What did I call it? Counter-proactive, I think. No. Pro-reactive. Yeah, the pro-reactive playstyle that I coined playing this game. Where you play just a shitty poke, like a 0-0. Are your opponent gonna defend this? Why? It's just a 0-0. And then you react to what their play is, where they invest more than you, and you can decide whether you wanna continue the conflict or pop out. It combos really well with both the Samurai again, since with the 0 skill, it's quite likely that your opponent will have more skill than you if they defend, and usually it happens that they have 4 skill or more, and you get another attack. So you just traded a 0 cost identity character and a conflict card for 3 coster that defended, which is a great trade. It also combos with one of the old school cards in this deck, which is Force of the River, since it's a free way to gain another water spirit. You just play the Battle Maiden, and then you have an open slot in the province row. We have a couple of Shigenias, Yuchi Soulweaver, we have Yuchi Rumei, we have Master of the Swift Waves, we have Moto Octai, and Yuchi Shahai. So this is sort of a Shigenya style HMT, which I find is pretty interesting, since their traditional, or the usual HMT, I should say, is more Bushi focused, while this has more of a Shigenya package, which was more common back in the day. We used to play Shahai, we used to play Master of the Swift Waves, and Force of the River, for sure, back in the day, because Force of the River would combo nicely with Shahai, and you would have some protection in the political conflicts, while also providing covert. And Shahai could attack on her own with Force of the River, coverting something, and then sacking the water horses to HMT. Yeah, so we're running a Shikenya package here. And of course we have Water Youth, the new Water Youth, which doesn't have the can only get +1 military if you're going in the first military conflict or whatever. This one is stronger, which is great. It's super strong. Shino Scout, again, very strong card. Both military and political you can poke, and don't care about the opponent's province. And the interrupt means that you can avoid weird situations where you attack and your opponent gets to react first with when the conflict is declared, or when this province is revealed, because this happens before the reveal, because it's an interrupt. Infantry, is a late game card in here. You're playing it for the finisher, where you get the cavalry reserves. It doesn't combo with Force of River, but you can get some wide boards, and this guy gets quite big. Remay is the weakest Shugeni in this deck. I have said to some people, but I generally don't run attachment control in my decks. Remay is sort of a exception here because she doubles as a Shugenya, so she can stay. She's also pretty good at protecting your characters against Cloud. There are a couple of cloudable characters here like Yasamura, we have Atagi, Shahai, Oktai, Shono. So she can protect against that, and she can move around some annoying attachments on your opponent as well, like Tactical Ingenuity or yeah, stuff like that. So she's pretty alright. She's gonna stay. Kinyo Archer, of course, is one of our stronger 2-cost characters right now. Can attack both militarily and politically, or attack militarily and then defend political, or defend military, even without readying with the moving. So it sort of serves as the replacement border rider in a way. Shinjugunso, of course, to feed the cavalry reserves and feed the HMT. Yasamura, because covert and he's a strong character. Master of the Swift Waves, a real old school character, and one that has found a new best friend in Composite Yumi. Because with just the Master and Composite Yumi is as strong or stronger than Curved Blade. Because the Master is 1 move in and 1 move out, which is +2 with the Composite Yumi. So, really sweet character, and can make some conflict decisions annoying for your opponent, in addition with the Sun will rise again. So there are a lot of tricks you can do here. Moto Oktai is also Shugenya and also cavalry, so you can cavalry reserve them in, can use the Shugenya cards. And again, with HMT, you sacrifice a character, Oktai gets huge, and then you swing back with Oktai and your opponent cries. Shahai again for the covert. Having covert is always good. And there are some Mage Shadow cards in the conflict pile. 3 Mage Shadow cards. So there's some incidental value there. But she's good on her own, because with the rotation we lost what I used to call Unicorn's best card, which was Captive Audience, rest in peace. And that means that we have to actually care about the political conflicts. And Shahai is a great way to do that, since she has the 4 political. And we have some ways around caring about the political, which I will explain. But Shahai is one way. Since your opponent generally has to spend a lot of resources on the military conflicts, you can then move in with Shahai alone or with little support and break on political with herself. Atagi is great with one of the theme cards of this deck, since it's set in the new errata, means that it sets the skill matching the conflict type of that character to the strength, the current strength of that province. And the theme card of this deck is the Rushing Wave. And if you control a Shigeni character, you set the province strength. Not the base province, the province strength. The whole thing with holdings and everything. And it can't change to 0. Which is great with Atagi, because that means that you can also set a character to 0. And this is another way we deal with political conflicts. We don't need a lot of political pumps, since this can serve as a political pump. When the card that I so loved, let's see, that's not the one, that's another one. When I spoiled this card back in the day, Man by Name, if you remember that stream, I do, fondly, or that's a word to use, yeah. I tried to think of something positive to say about this card. It's shit. It's one of the worst cards in the game. But the one positive thing I could say about it was that it can work in both types of conflict, both military and politically. Um, and the Russian wave is sort of a fixed version of this, and it both works in military and politically, and usually in political. Since you have a lot of military pumps, you can usually overwhelm your opponent in military, and then you can use the Russian wave to make sure that you hit that political break as well. Shono is one of my favorite characters of all time, both in the story and in game. The pride is great, and the action works perfectly with both cavalry reserves and Force of the River. Shono is one of the ways to get huge amounts of skill in military conflicts. The last character is a bit of a weird one. It's Utako Sumire. It's not the best choice for this deck. Shagatai is better, MKR is better, a 4-cost Shigenya would be better, like Dayu. It's called Dayu? Yuchi Dayu, yeah. But I just found it fun to play this character. It can combo a bit with Scout Steed. Your opponent attacks, defends a lot, your cavalry serves in Sumire, and then before your opponent can ready and regain their strength, you Scout Steed and attack with Sumire and just get a bunch of extra fate on your characters. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a win war card, and you're usually too fast to really get use out of Sumire from my experience. But it's there, it's cool, it's got great art, it's got a laser sword, unicorn horn, which is always a plus, thanks to Kevin Sanborn. And holding, of course, we have Shoitomi content. One thing to notice is that there are no rally cards and very few holdings. Reason for this is that it's really annoying when you flip rally cards playing Force of the River. We're kind of leaning into the Shigenya package here, and the Force of the River requires that you really empty your province row. Alright, I'm seeing some chat here, yeah, HMT, 3 spoils, 3 encampment, 2 cavalry reserves, yep, all reliable. Ryu could definitely be a good choice in here, especially moving around the provinces using Scout Steed and all this and so on. You're gonna get the revealed provinces for sure. So a Ryu in here is not a bad idea. Hopefully subbing out a Sumire for that. Moving on to the conflict side, we got Challenge on the Fields. We're playing a lot of wide characters. So your Lonely Motoyus can suddenly be 8 skill, which is pretty good, both for stronghold and for defense. We're playing Council of Uvido, which is a new addition. And Council cares about water affinity, which we have. That's great. So it's a cantrip, so it's basically free. It's a 37 card deck, and you can sort of recycle your one-off cards here. There's a lot of one-off cards in here, which I tend to build, which is both a blessing and a curse. But with this, you can recycle those. You really want to play another heroic assault? Council. You want to play another Darbuka? It got let go. Council. Cloud of Mine got let go. Council. You played 3 spoils of war and just want another one? Council. Play 5 spoils. Why not? I think my record is 5 spoils of war in one game, thanks to Council. So this deck draws a lot of cards. Another way of dealing with the political conflict is to just pass it. Day of the Brother Horse is a one-off in here, and sometimes instead of poking, just getting another 3 cards cycling through to the power of your deck can be useful. It also protects you against Void Rings, Water Rings, or Air Rings if your opponent is in Dishonor, or prepares the ring for one of your conflicts. So Day of Brother Horse is a one-off in here. I used to have 2 off, was a bit too much, since you don't always want to pass the political, since you can break on political. But yeah, a nice addition. Banzai, of course, as was mentioned in before. Long Journey Home to deal with big characters, towers, lots of readies. 3 off is too much, since it's not relevant in all games, but in a lot of games it's pretty good. So it's in there, Sport of War mentioned. Sunrise again, with the pro-reactive play, you attack, and If your opponent defends too much and you don't care about putting in that many resources, just play this and you get another try. All distances are one. Time to explain the combos here. So, oops, we have Scout Steed. We have Scout Steed. You attack with Scout Steed. You ready a character for free. It's 0 cost fate. So just play it. You ready the character, get a +1 military, and you have to attack a face-down province. But you can't break the province. Why? That's so bad. Why attack and not break in HMT? That's where the Shugenya package comes in, with all distances are 1. So you can move the conflict to another province, and Scout Steed states that you cannot break the attacked province. But now you're moving to another province that can be broken. So suddenly you're readying for free, using this as well as a pseudo combo ready, and breaking the province. And probably your opponent wasn't suspecting this, and suddenly you've broken a province for 1 card instead of spending a lot of other resources. Another nifty combo here is that it flips the other province face down that you attacked, so you can do it again with Scout Steed. It can really mess up people who are playing on-break provinces like Upholding or Public Forum or whatever, since you can bait them into not defending, since, oh, they're gonna break, or I don't care about this, I'll just not defend since HMT wants to break and you're not breaking. But with all distances are 1, you can really mess up a lot of people. Another one of the movement tricks. Rushing Wave we mentioned, setting province strength to 0, and also neighboring provinces. Cavalry reserves we mentioned, of course. Complete Yumi is huge, both with Master of the Swift Waves. It should work with Force of the River, but it's bugged, but I'm 100% sure it should work with Force, since Force puts characters into play. It works with cavalry reserves, it works with playing any other movement. Nope. We're playing chunks on the fields. So yeah, strong card. I have a 2-2 lineup of Kerblade, Scarlet Saber, and Yumi. I'm considering dropping another blade for Yumi, since usually Yumi is stronger. But having this 2-2 suite means that we can play one of each on a character, since you can't play duplicates on one single character. So you can have like a Yumi and a Kerblade on one character. But you can't have 2 Yumis on one character, because that would have been insane with Yumi. Skepti we mentioned, Cloud of Mind as a one-off, haven't played it yet, have mostly discarded it, but can be useful against scary cards like the Phoenix Champion, any Lion character, against Unicorn, like Tetsuko, Yasamura, Shagatai, if Shagatai appears. Yeah, there's a lot of characters still that are good targets for Cloud. Although we don't get the air affinity here, since we're only water, but yeah, Cloud of Mind is still a card. That's still useful. Darbuka we mentioned in the previous deck, and this one has another nifty thing with HMT, because one of the issues with HMT is that sometimes you don't have enough conflicts, or you don't have enough rings for your conflicts. And Darbuka can really help with that, since sometimes you have some extra conflicts, but there are not enough rings. There have been defenses, maybe your Phoenix opponent has claimed the ring or whatever. But with Darbuka, you can just say, I'm gonna attack again. Yeah, I'll lose another and attack again and break your stronghold. Can be another way to surprise your opponent. And of course, it has the extra bonus of stopping affinity, which is good against Phoenix. It's good against the mirror match, I guess. Well, these are Meishido, so never mind. But it has some utility for sure. +1 political. Tessence, of course. We're playing a lot of 2-casters, can get an extra break in there. Voice of the River mentioned, one of my favorite cards. It feels really good to play. Heroic Resolve is now not splash ban anymore, since they removed the splash ban. And yeah, it's a cheap ready with the +1/+1, and it's not impossible to activate it as well. It's a great way to ready Shono, to ready Sumire, to ready Octai. There's a lot of good targets in there. And to finish it off, we have Hayate, which takes the old Shinju Ambusher slot of the HMT fodder. Good things about Hayate is that it's free. It's one skill stronger than Shinju Ambusher, and it has movement, which combos with Composite Yumi, which is another +2, since you're moving 2 characters. So Hayate is another great addition to HMT for sure. Yeah, so this is one of, I guess, 3 decks that I'm really considering for the tournament. Old school HMT, and old school is mainly revolving around these elemental cycle cards like Battle Maiden, Recruit, Shono, Challenge, Shahai, and Force the River. That's like the classic package. We're not playing Fire Roll here for Jin, Unleash the Jin, but we're playing the Secret Water version instead with some of the new toys like Rushing Wave and Council of Yumido. Yeah, that was a sentence and a half for HMT. There is still stuff you can do with HMT. There's still different flavors of it. I mean, it's still an aggro deck. You're still looking to win on turn 3. But this one has a bit more nuance to it, a bit more tricks than just hammer, hammer, hammer. And I have defended a couple of conflicts for sure. Yeah. The other deck is this one, which is GPO, or Breeze of Dawn Lodge. Also Secret Water, and this is a pure movement mid-range value deck with some harpoons. Those that know me know that I love GPO. I love the movement concept, the idea of movement. You know, tricking your opponent, making them guessing which parts of the armies you're moving in and taking out and baiting and all that stuff. And this deck is as close you can get to that as possible, that dream. Since with the new GPO you can move characters out of the conflict, which is the main use I have for this stronghold. It's so good. It cannot move out characters anymore, which is probably for the best. But it can move characters home. And you also always get to start, which is pretty good with stuff like Scarlet Saber. It runs the usual movement package, you know, Upgrade Sentry, Moto Stables. I say the usual, this is my usual package, which is Moto Stables. Fire Rider, of course. And since we're sort of a mid-range deck, we can also play Ride at Dawn to still play that passing fate game that your opponent might not be used to anymore, which is pretty cool. And the rest of the deck, the standard deck, is movement stuff like to govern the land, to move in bow, move out. In political, the deck is military leaning, so govern the land helps you in your political stuff. You have the spyglasses, you have the Chicken Darbuka. I put Scout Steed in here. I haven't played with it too much. Not sure if it's the best, but it is a nice combo with Diversionary. Since Diversionary is suddenly a very strong card with the combo with Composite Yumi. Since Composite Yumi sees every single character that moves home and moves in with this, which can be a lot of skill. I think my record is in the 2 digits somewhere from a single Composite Yumi, thanks to Diversionary Maneuver. It's silly, but it's fun. Finally, this card, which has been one of my favorite bad cards for so long. Suddenly, it has a deck, it has a home, and it's not bad anymore. It's okay. Yep. But I mentioned a harpoon package as well. So, alongside Diversionary, we have a harpoon package. It starts with Maelstrom, which forces your opponent into bad conflicts, making them overcommit to attacks. It also serves as a move-in outlet, which you can on your characters with, or just move in more characters. You have Eagle's Rest Peak, which Cloudlet Valley, which swaps characters, can mess up your opponent even more, or move your characters around with Complete Yumi, or Naginata. You have stuff like Honest Challenger, the OG Harpoon character, which is even harder to mess up the Harpoon now, because before you could mess with the composure with your opponent beating 2 to your 1, and suddenly you were stronger, and now you had to move in one of your characters. But now, if your opponent has more skill, you can make sure that they have to move one of their characters. They can of course move about one, but a lot of the time, if you attack with this, if you play this first turn and you attack with it, your opponent defends, you can suddenly force your opponent to defend with 2 characters, move home with Breeze of Dawn, and then boom, play Sunrise again, and suddenly you have one ready character, your opponent's board is bowed, and you can just hammer 2 promises. So good. So Honest Challenger, honestly, strong card. Playing Keep Up in his piece, just for some anti-void support. Shinju Archer, of course, movement, Yasumura, Master of Swift Waves, self-explanatory since I explained it before. Arik was never regarded as a good character, but we are on 10 honor, we're gonna burn our honor, he's gonna be active, he's gonna harpoon stuff, and we have support for that in cards like Naginata, which bows characters that move in, Complete Yumi triggers on it. We have Fallen in Battle as a payoff for harpooning characters into conflicts that you win. And we also have Let Him Go By as a 3-off, which can bow readied characters that are moved into a conflict. For example, with Arik, Honest Challenger, or Diversionary Maneuver. It has a combo, it has a place. It's so good. This deck makes me smile. Twilight Rider, of course, a bit weaker nowadays, with the GPO not being able to move in bowed characters, so you can't move in the Twilight Rider bowed, you have to have it ready at home, unless you play Hayate. Tetsuko is the restricted card, because, yeah, Tetsuko. Isano is a new addition, and he's pretty cool. He you can sort of control what rings you want. It's a bit of a gamble sometimes, but getting extra ring effect is usually pretty good, and a good platform to put some attachments on, since it's a 4-skill character. And Kiora is also great since it works with Yumi, and also getting some extra fate, since this deck is quite fate heavy. It's a mid-range deck that plays a lot of Goron cost cards in the conflict deck, so getting that extra fate and another way to mess up the conflict information is always good with Kiora. Playing 3 Favorable Ground, really strong card, can win you games, will win you games. It's extra triggers of Breeze of Dawn. We're playing multiple stables, as I said, Shinra Encampment. And since Reserve Hands got restricted, it's not part of this deck. It wasn't part of the deck even before the restriction, actually, since you have so much movement already. And you don't need mass movement. You need 1 key piece every turn, or 1 or 2. You have the Breeze of Dawn Lodge, which is always available, and then you have 1 or 2 pieces more, like you have a Favorable Ground somewhere, or you have an Honest Challenger, or you have a Hyate. There are a lot of incidental moves all over the place. You have also in the conflict, in the province row. I didn't talk about the province row more than Maelstrom and Cloud Step. We also have Eagle's Rest Peak. This goes on Stronghold. I never had an opponent get to my Stronghold with this, so I don't know if it's good or not. But it reads alright, I guess. I don't know. I guess we'll find out if I play it. Rift of Toshigoku is another part of the Harpoon package, since your opponent will break this and discard their worst character, which means that their strongest characters will be around to get harpooned and fall in battle, and so on and so forth. And Hubi Square, while we're not playing a huge amount of 2-cost characters, we are playing enough to make it pretty consistent, so it's in there. I think it's one of our better air provinces just because of that 5 strength as well. The rest of the conflict cards, we have Assassination, of course. Assassination is really nice with Eric since we need a way to dump our honor sometimes. Long Journey Home we mentioned. We're playing a lot of attachments, so Mushin Shin is a good protection for our mid-range characters. Classic play of this deck is to play a 3-cost character with 2 fate and then put 2 attachments on it, and then it's safe with Mushin Shin. Ride On as another incidental move ability. Can also move in bound characters. And it just, you can't have a movement deck without Ride On, right? It has to be there. It's a good dispatch. It doesn't do anything on its own, pretty much, but it's a picture of a horse riding, or a half of a picture of a horse. It's so good. Sports War, Somewhere Else Again, is a super key card in this deck, especially in the early turns. Let's say you buy Isamu with 2 fate or 3 fate even. Attack military, move home, your opponent defense, move home, Somewhere Else Again. Attack again, encampment, win, Spoils of War, Scarlet Saber, bam, your opponent loses first turn. Pretty good trade. From Battle we talked about, Governed Land we talked about, the Versionary, Yumi, Scarlet Saber, Scout Steel, Labuka, Spyglass, one of Adorned Barcha, another movement, and we're playing a couple unique characters. Maybe not enough to want Adorned Barcha all the time, but we're usually mulliganing for Isamu, Arik, or Tetsuko turn 1, so the Adorned Barcha usually has a place. And of course Hayate. We are usually playing this character for 1 or even 0, since you might have that one Isamu and you might have a youth or a small character, cavalry character alongside it. That was a lot of words. Okay, so this is super fun deck to play. It's also very powerful. I don't think I've lost with this deck yet, maybe one time. It's so fun to play. There's a lot of tricks you can do. I have misplayed with it. It's a beast to ride for sure. But it's one of my serious contenders because, as I said, I've always loved the movement idea, bait and switch, keeping your opponent on your toes, guessing how can I even defend against this? What even are the choices? And it's so much fun. It's leaning on a tower deck, but since we're not playing any saves of the sort, except for maybe Keeper of Inner Peace, if that counts as a pseudo save, so it doesn't count as a tower deck, so I'm fine in that way. But other than that, it's yeah, it's a bit slow sometimes, so it can struggle against more aggressive decks since you need to sort of set up the right scenarios for all your movement stuff. No one piece really works well on its own, except for maybe, I guess, Tetsuko, because Tetsuko's great. Yeah, it needs a turn or two to really get rolling. Yeah, those are, I think, my choices for Unicorn, and the real contenders here are the old school HMT, which is really fun. It offers a more tricksy way of playing HMT instead of just going bam 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 bam, attacking and then see if you win. We got You Will Fall at Sunrise, It Is Dawn, which is the GPO2 deck. And we also got the Shirishino Secret Rare Battle Maidens, which is also another mid-range honor sort of deck, which can attack both military and politically. Or if I just want a meme, I'll go with the Developing a Masterpiece and see what happens. So yeah, I'm not sure what to play. Like, if you look at the meta, Dishonor is a thing. I've built Dishonor decks, I've won with Dishonor decks. So Dishonor is a thing. We can expect political leaning decks out of Crane. There's a Crane mid-range / wide deck. That's a pseudo honor deck that can really mess with you in political. We have to think about that as well. There is aggro out of Scorpion, out of Unicorn, out of Crane. There are tower decks out of Lion. Crab has a tower deck. There's Phoenix, which is scary with their champion and with all the new spells that they have. Dragon have monks, which are always something you have to deal with. Also with the return of Shoshinikie. That's also scary. Maybe that's one of the reasons to play Scouted, to punish all the people who play Shoshinikie. Because that card is that card isn't okay. Maybe that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be that guy and just see if my opponent is on Keeper Water and then queue in with Scouted. No, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, so we are gonna see all the classic decks, I think, potentially represented in this tournament. So something that deals with some of it reasonably well, I think, is good. What is the strongest deck right now? Strongest clan? I don't know. Unicorn is probably up there. Crane is probably up there. Phoenix is probably up there. Lion, of course. It's hard to say. I think meta is very underdeveloped since we're too few players to playing too few games. And everyone is playing their own fun stuff. So talking about what's strongest is pretty meaningless, I think. But yeah, if you want to take against me, screenshot these decks and I guess go 3 of winning hostilities. Yeah, I hope this was interesting, enjoyable, fun even. But I'll see you guys in the tournament, hopefully with one of these decks. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and have a nice day.